Hello, and welcome back to the Nonprofit Spotlight. I'm your host, Mike, and I'm excited to have Michelle Connors with us today. Michelle, could you say hello and tell us a little bit about who you are and your organization?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's nice to finally connect with you, and thank you so much for the work you do with this podcast. It's all the topics have been awesome. Been listening to all the different shows. As you said, my name's Michelle Connors, and in 2020, in the kind of beginning scary part of COVID, I founded Rustic Love with my family. And we are now 4.5 years strong and an official nonprofit organization. And what we do is we have a trademarked open heart, and we put that on wooden heart yard signs and other merchandise, and have partnerships with other businesses we work with. And the donations we receive for those items, we turn around and give to local organizations that help the food insecure. So we mainly are focusing on school food pantries for the last couple of years, and hope to continue that work moving forward.
Nice, excellent. So, you said it was started during the pandemic, but what was the inspiration that was behind the Rustic Love, and of course the open heart, where you can't miss a neighborhood street in our part of Northern Virginia here and not see one of your signs. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was furloughed at the beginning of the pandemic, and so I didn't have much going on, and we didn't really have any disposable income, and our kids were also off of school. So we wanted to participate in this wonderful movement that was going on in Vienna to help area restaurants who were obviously struggling. And the food that they would create would then be donated to food insecure families. My son was adopted from a food insecure situation, so we knew very well the implications, not even just with him, but a family and how that affects families. And so it was something that was really near and dear to our hearts. So I was inspired by a post my friend had made on Facebook about a group she bought a sign from. It was called Signs of Hope up
Okay.
north. And I, used my toxic trait. How hard could it be? And decided to throw the kids out in the backyard, use some of the stuff we had at home, make a couple signs, and do this little fundraiser. And, that's the short story of the beginning. And the short story of how we got to where we are today is that there was just massive amounts of community support for this project. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And we became an official nonprofit organization the following year, and have continued to, innovate and pivot and create new things every year to keep growing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think you've distributed something around 6,000 signs and raised over about what, $500,000. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Nice. And so where does all the material come from? I'm sure you've used up everything in your backyard at this point. And how are people making these signs? Tell us a little bit about that process. Do you have volunteers or?
Yeah. So we started with my kids and our neighbor, my sixth child, I guess I call him, and it really became just this sort of you know eclectic, organic growth of how people became involved. So we used up the wood that we had. We started in the beginning just buying, things from Home Depot, and people were suggesting changes to what we were doing and colors we were using. And eventually, down the lines, we came across a wonderful builder in Vienna, and they are our supplier for wood. They get us a discount for the wood that we use, which is important. And we still use, big box stores for some of the other supplies that we have. Um, so, we're kind of just continuing along, making them that same way that we used to. I created the open heart template on a plastic school folder when I
Huh.
first made it. I mean, it's just, I still have it because it's just so funny how I was like, oh, I'll just sort of make this heart with a little design the way that I want the heart to look. And then a local woman who did so much work for us in the beginning came along and helped us create these wooden templates that we got laser cut out, and they're much more sturdy and professional and way easier than what we were doing before.
Yeah.
So we use those in our builds as well.
Yeah. So what I like about the signs, especially living in the community and seeing them everywhere, it makes it feel like you're a part of a community within a community, and
Exactly.
that community knows that those people are passionate about fighting food insecurity. So, how does one go about getting a sign, or is it a donation? How does the process work to be a part of that kind of community within community?
Yeah, and you're totally right. That's one of the beautiful parts of this project is the community involvement and how you actually have this visible sign that's all over the town of Vienna, and it reminds people that it's neighbors helping neighbors.
Mhm.
So that's really been a wonderful part of it. Um, I forgot what your question was.
Oh, there's like so like somebody who's listening has seen your signs around and is like, oh, I'm passionate about food insecurity. So tell us a little bit about the process to like being a member of that community within community. How does it work? How do you like get a sign? How do you make a donation? How do you help do the work that you're doing?
Yeah, the community within a community is so wonderful. So in the beginning, we were doing just in-person sales, and we would do them at different businesses around town. And that was actually in the beginning, one thing we were trying to accomplish was getting people to come back to businesses. And so we're going to sit in the parking lot of the fresh market, do some shopping while you're there. And so primarily that's what we were doing in the beginning, and doing those every couple months. And we also had a spreadsheet. People would just say, write on our Facebook post, I would like one. We've evolved over the years. We got some wonderful national attention in Costco's magazine 2 years ago. And because we knew that exposure was coming, and they have millions, I think it's like 13 million subscribers, if I remember
Wow.
correctly. We knew that we would get this, you know, there'd be inquiries from all over the country. So then we instituted some shipping. So I'm now shipping things out of my house, and we've been able to ship across the country up to Alaska and worldwide. And so we sort of over the years have pivoted to that being our main way of getting the signs out. We also do local delivery, so that's helped too. And the process is actually pretty seamless at this point. It makes it a lot easier for people to get what they want. They can order custom colors during the summer, and sometimes now it's a little harder to paint in the winter, obviously. But
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's a pretty easy process.
Nice. And does it a sign come with a donation amount, or people can donate anything? How does that work?
That's a good question. So when we sell things in person, it was all but just by donation, and that was the way it was from the beginning. I never wanted to assign a price, so people could just choose what they wanted to donate. Some people donated $10, some people donated $500. It just depended on where you were, and we wanted everyone to be able to have a chance to get one because they were cute and popular,
Yeah.
and they served a really good purpose. So $10 helps no matter what. 500 helps a lot too.
Of course.
So yeah, I keep losing track of what I'm saying.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And then so when someone makes a donation, that goes to your nonprofit, and then from there it goes to support food insecurity. So what kind of food insecurity programs are you working with for the donations people are making along with receiving a sign?
That is a great question. So it's very important that we carefully look at who we're going to donate and why. So we have a board of directors, and we meet quarterly to talk about who, where, and why, what donations we're going to be making. And a lot of research goes into that. So we're researching school food pantries primarily in Fairfax County. There's great need across our county. We have like 1.2 million residents, and 100,000 of them
Yeah.
are considered food insecure. So, um, at, at schools where there's a high percentage of people with children who have food insecurity and are part of the free and reduced lunch program in Fairfax County, most oftentimes they have pantries. So we connect with the pantries to then investigate their sources of revenue, where they get their current supplies from, what their budget is for the year, and we're able to make grants based on what we see the need is at those particular schools. So we also have schools coming to us asking for things when they find that there's a specific need or during holiday programs. And we've helped two schools actually start pantries. So we do initial funding for them, which has been very rewarding.
Yeah.
Um, so we've donated to 21 different organizations, but most of those we've donated to more than once, obviously, because the need is really only expanding year over year. So we're just continuing to do that. We just made another donation yesterday to a school that is a multiple recipient from us.
That's great. Yeah. Is there any like stories or memories you've had or connections that you've made that have been really powerful for you or that you are a highlight through this process since the pandemic and you started this launch?
Yeah, so, this has really been the best job that I've ever had, and a lot of that has to do with the people that I've been able to connect with, and that's because we have similar hearts for this mission, whether it's the businesses that we work with, the people that are donating to us, the people running the food pantries, like, we're all really connected, and I've made really great friendships as a result because you can't help but do that when you have connections with these people over and over again and see all the good work that they're doing. So, even just as an example, this morning I received an email from the pantry that we donated to yesterday, and that she was just expressing how grateful the administration was that we are really rounding out their year for them. So our grants can be so impactful because these pantries are important. They can be somewhat small compared to the larger pantries that exist, in our area, but they're all run by volunteers. And sometimes it's a revolving door of volunteers simply because the families age out of schools. And so the
Yeah.
parents who are helping with the pantries age out and move on to upper levels of grades. So um, we get messages all the time from the pantries that we're working with on how our large grants help blow their budget for the year, and they don't have to worry about fundraising. They can instead focus on helping the children at school, which is what they're there to do for this particular position that they
Yeah.
volunteered for. So
Obviously, their highest priority for sure.
right, exactly.
Nice. You mentioned in passing partnerships with businesses, and now that you mention it, and driving around town, I've definitely seen your signs or the Rustic Love signs at businesses. So, do you partner with any business? Are you looking for specific partners? Can like if there was a listener who had a business and wanted to support food insecurity locally, is that something that you would consider as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for more partners. That's something that we're, is an initiative of ours for this year as well. A lot of businesses that you see that have the signs are just businesses that purchase signs, which is fantastic. We also have business partners that we have co-branded products with, and that's sort of the beauty of
Uh,
having this logo is it's trademarked at this point, and we can create co-branded products that they can help sell, market, and then give donations back to us for use of the logo.
oh wow.
So we have a couple of the highlights of businesses that have been with us for a couple of years. One is a Cheeky and Goldsmiths, who's a local jeweler, has been in town for over 25 years. And they elevated our little rustic heart into this beautiful silver and gold pendant
Hmm.
with our, it's so, like I mentioned, it's just so elevated and beautiful, and people can gift that. And there's longevity to the project through something like that. We also have a longstanding partnership with Caboose Brewing Company, and that we have a co-branded beer. It's the Rustic Love IPA. I love
Wow.
IPAs. I love Caboose Brewing Company. They let me help decide what kind of beer it was going to be, and um, they're selling that at both of their locations and donate proceeds back to us. And that's fun and it's rewarding. And they're a super philanthropic company, and they approached us, and the whole circle of being able to work with businesses in the community. You find businesses that really have hearts for our mission, no pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's great.
but it makes the community even smaller. Again, it's this community building that we've been able to do, whether it's through people building the signs, or it's people donating and showcasing the signs in their yards, or it's businesses who are interested in participating. It's really just been kind of accentuating Vienna being a small town within this big city, and we're all looking out for each other.
Yeah, that's great. And you don't have to be a maker to be a business partner. It could be any business. Is that right?
Yeah, yep.
Nice.
Yep, we're always looking for more partnerships and are happy to for anyone who's interested in, expanding philanthropy through their business. We'd love to be partners with them.
Nice. Yeah, and I've definitely seen your signs outside the town of Vienna. So can you say a little bit about where you're trying to grow or expand?
I mean, the answer is really everywhere. We're happy with the shipping that we have. We can ship anywhere. We've had some sales that are outside of the town of Vienna, whether it's in Mosaic and Reston.
Hmm.
We had one in DC during a winter market. Um, I will say, this is just sort of an interesting factoid, that it doesn't hit as well outside of Vienna. So when we've had in-person sign sales in other towns, it doesn't get the same reception. And I think that's just something that's really interesting and speaks a lot to our small community and how bonded we are and how we're always looking out for each other. It's really been wonderful.
Wow, that's great. And I want to go back to one piece that you said earlier, that this was a byproduct of something that came out of COVID with your families. But I've also noticed in reading up on your organization that this is an organization that's not only excited about serving kids, but working with family and kids to broaden your work. So can you say a little bit more about how you make this initiative a family initiative?
Well, my family's obviously deeply involved with it because they live with me and this is what I do full time. So so they've helped in every aspect. I mean, we moved, in other areas besides sign building. Obviously, they were involved with sign building while they lived at home. A couple of mine have left home already and moved on to college and the military, um but they were involved very heavily up into that point, and so that's decorating ornaments that we were selling, or and working on sign builds, helping with social media things, whatever that might be. And then they brought in a lot of their friends. There's one good thing about volunteerism for like high school students is that it's required. There are
Hmm.
some hours that need to be fulfilled, so we just had a lot of my children's friends coming in and helping with things too, and so it expands and expands and expands the number of children that we work with. And then, as now that we're 4.5 years in, we have almost just like a whole brand new slew of children that are working with us because they're aging into, you know, our sweet spot for children. Mostly it's high school age.
Yeah.
So we've worked with um, sports teams. Our neighbor who initially like started this project with us, he brought his hockey team and did a build with us. We have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We have Eagle Scouts doing their Eagle projects with us. We have groups that are involved with philanthropy full time. We work with lots of different types of volunteers: singles, families, moms and kids, teams, groups, like I mentioned. So it's just expanding beyond our little unit into making sure that everyone feels welcome and everyone has an opportunity to really understand philanthropy, not only just philanthropy in general and how important that is to bring into children's lives, but also understanding what our mission is and that it exists all around them. I think kids can tend to live in a little bit of a bubble. We live in a pretty wealthy area of the country, but there is some incredible need all around us, whether it's kids in your own school. We've donated to all the local schools, particularly at the high school and middle school level, but also the sports teams that they play against. So you play against Annandale, and they have a 65% free and reduced lunch program participation. It's a lot bigger number than the high schools that are in our within 5 mile radius of our area, right?
Yeah.
So it's important for kids to really understand what exists outside of their everyday life and what can they do to make a difference.
Yeah. So, with that being said, if there's a listener who's never heard about your uh, nonprofit before and would like to volunteer, what are some of the things they might be asked to do as a volunteer?
Well, that is a great question. So, primarily, we've been, looking for help with our sign builds. It takes a lot of people to make what normally is like about a 200 sign batch during one sign build. But one thing that I've encouraged kids to do, if they're looking for service hours or looking for something interesting to do service wise, is to actually come to us with an idea.
Hmm.
If you don't want to do a sign build, but you like what this organization represents, what can you bring to it? So we had someone come and volunteer and their graphic design services, which is great. I don't have a graphic designer. So she got service hours from us by her donating, time to create social media campaigns and ads for our newsletter and things like that. So I encourage anyone who wants to volunteer. You don't necessarily have to come and do the things that we do on a weekly, monthly basis or whatever, but bring something that interests you. And it isn't even just to us. This is just sort of even in general. Bring something to an area nonprofit. We're all looking for help. There's
Yeah.
so many volunteers. All of these nonprofits that you're interviewing need. and there's talents that we don't have. We'd love some help.
Yeah. So you are obviously integrated into a lot of important conversations in and around our neighborhood. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges either facing you and your nonprofit or the families that you serve right now?
I mean, you know, I think quite simply, it's just funding. It's just money. Um, Fundraising is difficult, and it's difficult to repeat. So if you're going to be hitting the same people over and over again with requests, you get to a certain saturation point. And the need is not decreasing, it's only increasing. And right now, there are federal programs being cut, which is going to put more of maybe a highlight on grassroots local charities to try to come in and fill in some of those gaps. So it's really just about trying to get people to donate and help the people around us who need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you could elaborate a little further on what you hear from your schools or other entities that you provide grants to, what are the biggest needs that they have, or what are the biggest, I don't know, hurdles they see in the near future? Is it funding as well, or is it other stuff?
It's
Just like,
definitely funding,
yeah.
yeah, and every pantry kind of, acquires their inventory a little bit differently. Sometimes they get it through capital area food banks, sometimes they get, if it's in a high school, they get sports teams to do drives for them to get things donated, or they go shopping and try to find, try to have volunteers find like the cheapest prices possible for the items that they need. It
Hmm.
can be kind of complicated. I mean, there's distribution issues with each pantry. If you're most elementary schools actually pack bags and send them home in backpacks, which works, but for high school levels, that doesn't really work because there's social stigma at that age of being the kid that has to take home groceries. So pantries at the higher level really look more for gift cards that they can send home because you can just pop that in your bag and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, there's another problem of when people are just donating goods, you may not necessarily be donating the type of goods that people really want to receive, right? So I cook in a very specific type of way. Let's say I just make tons of pasta.
Yeah.
And maybe some pantries have cultures that are more prevalent in their student body, and that's not primarily what they eat. So it would be more helpful. Again, it goes back to funding instead of looking for ways to donate actual food.
Yeah.
Um, so really on the ground, I mean, we are essentially a fundraiser, right? So we talk about money all the time and what can we do best and who do we serve best and how can they best use the money that we're donating to them. So it's just a matter of, keeping that up and how do we do that easily moving forward? It's not
Mhm.
easy.
No, no, you're right. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So thinking about that and taking those challenges into mind, like where would you like to see Rustic Love, say, a year or 5 years from now?
I think that, kind of rewinding a little bit, when we started this was never really on our agenda to become this longstanding nonprofit. And I think that's unusual. We didn't set out to kind of create a nonprofit. We didn't really have even a specific goal in mind. It's all been very organic and lots of zinging and zagging and pivoting and innovating. And it's been rewarding and successful, and that's wonderful. So we haven't yet had our 2025 meeting, so I don't have specifics for you. We have an event coming up, which we can talk about in a little bit, but we want to continue serving the niche that we have found really deserves the help. So it's just a matter of finding ways to continue to innovate. Um, this past year, our major fundraiser was a mural.
Hmm.
And, we had never done anything like that before. And that was a whole new, you know, big thing to step into to try to figure out how to make that work effectively. But it worked and it's beautiful and it's up and finished and great. And we had wonderful sponsors and tons of community involvement. Painting, which was another thing that has been critical to our success, is the involvement of people volunteering. And they did that even with painting this mural, which was really very rewarding and fun to see and really fun to be a part of. So we're going to continue doing things like that. This year we have, as I was talking about a little earlier, we have a group of women in town putting together a special event called The Longest Table. And it was founded up in New York City. And essentially, it's just a community meal for free. It's just for community gathering and
Nice.
bonding. And so we just rent the tables and then it's a potluck and people bring food. We make money through this through sponsorships for the event. And also we can have QR codes on the table for people who attend and would like to donate. And that's where we come in. Would be the beneficiary of that. But it's another wonderful community building event. And it's members of the community helping plan it and, trying to bring people together and then hopefully even make a little money on the side for a nonprofit to help other people. It just sort of this wonderful circle of giving in our community just goes on and on and on. And it's wonderful that we have that this year to look forward to.
Yeah. So maybe even a year or 5 years from now, the table is even larger and the more people that are in that giving cycle grows.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Nice.
and it's wonderful that when we make donations to pantries, what we want to do after that donation is complete is give some exposure to that pantry. So here's a local school. Your kids don't go there, but you probably know people who do. It's 2 miles away.
Yeah.
And here's what their need is. Here's what their student population is doing. Here's how this school helps these particular children. And it's good for everyone to really learn about that and be more in tune with the need that exists all around us. So I think that's an important kind of aspect to our relationship with these pantries is that we want people to really know who they are and what they need.
Yeah. Nice. So if there's somebody listening, is excited to hear about all that you're doing and wants to make a donation, how would they go about doing that?
So they can use our website. We accept all types of donations. We can do credit card, we do PayPal and Venmo, we take check. People can buy things from our shop site, which is linkable on our site as well. And that's where we sell our yard signs and we have sweatshirts and magnets and all sorts of different merchandise. So I think that's probably the easiest way.
Great. And then if there was somebody out there that wanted to make a bigger gift, is there anything that you all need that's on a larger scale or something you'd be nice to have that could help facilitate doing your work in a bigger or greater capacity?
Nothing that's, a concrete type thing. It's all just sort of funding. I mean, really, we focus on trying to identify and serve those pantries in the community that need the help. So if there's a large donation financially, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Anything else that you think that our listeners should know about or you'd like to share that we didn't cover?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I've really enjoyed listening to all of the other nonprofits that you've interviewed. These are the types of things that we need. It's really all just people learning about who we are and why we're doing the things that we're doing, and understanding where the need is in the community. So I'm happy to have anybody reach out, and if they want to learn more or figure out ways that they could help volunteer with us, we're always looking for more opportunities and ways to grow. We're really small. We're really proud of the work that we've done, and we're humble enough to know that we could take lots of suggestions and do things better too. I'm happy to have anybody who thinks that they can help make a difference in any capacity. Like I mentioned with the teens wanting service hours, bring it. We
Yeah.
would love it.
Okay. Thanks. Well, Michelle, you are definitely a leader in our community. And on
Thank
behalf of the community, thank you for taking like an unexpected calling to support your neighbor in need just on a whim and keeping it growing and keeping it expanding and continuing to serve the needs of our members in our community that are not having enough to take home either on the weekends or at night, and you're filling that gap. So thank you to you and your family and the rest of the team over at Rustic Love for everything that you're up to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.